The highly anticipated Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 video game hit stores at midnight. Activision Blizzard CEO says sales of the company's game could surpass the top Hollywood films of 2009. Bobby Kotick is with us now, along with my colleague Michele Steele, who has been on the gaming beat all this year. But Bobby, obviously we want to kick things off with you. I'm just curious, your main competitor, EA, announcing job cuts. Are you going to have to do the same in this kind of environment?
It's not something that we're contemplating today, but, this is a very difficult economy, and I think it's still hard to determine over the next few years what the consequences of the change in consumer spending will be to our businesses. Right now, though, we're very fortunate. We have the biggest video game likely of the year and possibly of all time.
Bobby, it's Michele Steele here. How can you be so sure of that? You talked about the slumping consumer spending, and you're also there in Washington announcing an initiative to employ unemployed veterans. Of course, they're not the only ones unemployed. So how can you be so certain that this game is going to be the biggest launch of the year, if not of all time?
There are a few people who I really trust. My principal advisor on game quality is a young kid named Tom Kelly, and Tommy Kelly says this is the best video game of all time, so I trust his judgment.
Bobby, I want to ask you a question. I mean, there's been a lot of controversy around this game, and I want to know if you think that's going to hurt sales for certain age groups. I mean, in some scenes, I guess there was an early release. You're probably not that happy about it, but a player can actually be part of a gang, infiltrating a gang, and actually shoot innocent civilians as part of the game in an airport scene. I mean, don't you think some parents are going to freak out and not buy this for their kids for Christmas?
I hope so, because this is not a game for children. This is a T-rated game, and it's supposed to be for people who are between the ages of 18 and 35. That's our principal audience for it. Having said that, though, we've put in all the sorts of precautions that would prevent you from actually having to access any of the controversial content. I think the important thing about video games today, though, is that they have taken on many of the characteristics of film and television. And, you have countless numbers of television programs in prime time that in order to create some kind of emotional connection between the audience and the story will have what you would see in real life, which might be some controversial content. In our case, we tried to keep it very limited, and you do have the ability to avoid it altogether and have no consequence on your gameplay. But you're right, we're here in Washington to launch our Call of Duty Endowment, which is focused on finding employment for the many hundreds of thousands of veterans who are actually out of work today.
And the game is very popular with veterans as well. I want to talk about some of the effects we see in the game. It looks like a movie sometimes. How long before we see Call of Duty on the silver screen? We've already said it may be the biggest entertainment franchise of all time. Are you guys talking to studios right now?
Well, we are a studio. We have distribution of our physical product in 250,000 locations. We have 100,000 servers running our World of Warcraft game in probably 60 countries around the world in 32 data centers. So, when you think about what next generation studios look like, to the extent that we wanted to create content that was non-interactive, we would have the ability to distribute it to tens of millions of people ourselves.
So Call of Duty movie? Anytime soon?
Right now we're going to stay focused on the Call of Duty Endowment. When you think about what we really can do with the success of this game to be a catalyst for finding new job opportunities, 21st century job opportunities for our returning veterans, I think that's more important as an initiative for us right now than making a film.
All right, Bobby, Michele and I thank you very much for joining us. Bobby Kotick there, the CEO of Activision Blizzard.